Welcome into the best in paranormal programming. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Okay, so you're sitting down. I hope you're sitting down. And if you're sitting down, I hope it's not where I think it is, because it is the subject of today's program. Some of you may be listening on your devices. Some of you may be watching on YouTube. Some of you may be in the bathroom. I'm not judging, and I'm not watching. I promise. Look, if you're on video right now, look, I'm covering my eyes. Okay? Our subject today actually has to do with being in the bathroom, and it may be haunted. It may be. I've been in a few haunted bathrooms in my day investigating. I can name a couple of places, and a couple of those places are in this book that we're talking about today. Actually, there's two books we're talking about today, and they're wonderful. They're amazing books. My guest today is Erin Taylor, and she's written two books with the title Unfinished Business. I've also had a little bit of that in the bathroom in my day, a little bit of unfinished business. Unfinished Business, Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms is the first book that's out there and available and wonderful. Unfinished Business number 2 is the other book, More Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms. And that is the other book that is out there currently right now. And I have a link to that in the description of this program, and we want you to check out that book as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Erin as we get into this program here, and then we'll bring Erin in here shortly. Erin lives in Colorado with her family and fur babies. This is her fourth book, following her first Unfinished Business, which we talked about, or we're going to talk about shortly. Other books include Sleeping Among Spirits and Strange Colorado Volume 1. All her books are self-published, and you can find them all on Amazon. Again, we have links to them here in the description of this program. She has also published articles in the Morbid Curious, American Paranormal Magazine, and Haunted Magazine. By day, Erin works in community mental health care. By night, she enjoys writing, searching for the paranormal, and traveling to places she can investigate and write about. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome for the first time to Darkness Radio, and we appreciate her for being here, Erin Taylor. Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, right away, I'm gonna put the bathroom talk to the side, and pardon my language, it's gonna get a little shitty here in a second. That's my one pun for today, and then we'll throw it away. I do have to say, okay, I might have thrown a little business your husband's way. Your husband is quite talented and does a lot of stuff with 3D printing, and I got to tell you, I've been salivating over his website. So I'm going to put a link to your husband's website in the description of this program, too. Your husband not only does stuff with 3D models and different 3D printing and stuff like that. I don't know quite how to describe his business. I'm sorry, but I will tell you this much. This is what my friend and I have a friend in Puerto Rico. Him and I were comic book nerds. OK, so we've been salivating over these full masks that he makes. OK. And I'll tell you this much. I have a story to tell you before we get going. And it does have to do a little bit with the paranormal here and a little bit with lucid dreaming. Okay. So I'm going to freak you out with a story here before we get going here, Erin. So my friend tells me, okay, I show him the on your husband's website, this venom mask that he has, this glow in the dark venom mask. And he goes, oh my God, Tim, I had the worst dream about that mask. He said, I almost think I should buy it. And I said, okay, well, wait, you had a terrible dream about that character and you want to buy it? And he goes, yeah, almost like a trophy. He said, I had a dream that thing stalked me for almost a week. And it tried to kill me in a dream. And it had that same glow in the dark feature. It was like that Venom character, but it glowed in the dark. And he said, but it looked exactly like that. He said it's almost like he reached into my dream and grabbed that character.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was describing this dream to me where it would slither out of the wall, like out of the blackness, and then it would glow. And then it would come after him. It was just talking about it. It gives me chills. Yeah.
That one is creepy, and especially to see it later. Now, I appreciate his enthusiasm, too. I don't know if I would be so excited to, if I saw something from my dreams in real life. But yeah, he's definitely been busy, and he'll be so happy to hear, the shout out. He's been itching to show you his Wolverine mask that he's.
Okay, I'm ordering that thing. By the way, I got to tell people you're not getting it before I do, but your husband Mike, right? Mike,
Mhm.
makes this amazing Wolverine mask. It's the yellow and blue variant, and I've never seen anything so lifelike as this yellow and blue Wolverine mask. And the way it attaches is genius. So the yellow part of the mask is just that, and Mike fits it to your head. So you give him your measurements, and that part sits on your head, and then he uses magnets for the fins, for the blue fins. So the blue fins actually snap on, and he put this thing on my head at Missouri Paracon, and I wanted to run around and start punching people when I had it on my head. I know that it's totally not like me at all, Erin, but oh my gosh, this thing was amazing. I felt like a 10-year-old kid when I had it on my head. And I'm telling you, I'm probably going to order it when we're done with this program. I've been trying to. I've been like, I know. I'm so. You got me pumped up again about it. I was kind of settling down about it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be an adult about this. I'm going to wait until I have the disposable income. Screw it. I'm spending the rent money on it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, do it to it. Yeah, that was the one thing when he knew I was coming on the show. He's like, make sure he knows about the Wolverine. And actually, he wanted me to have it with me. I am in my office right now, and I wasn't about to bring it.
Why?
Um,
Oh, I want to see it again.
I'll just send you pictures.
Okay.
I'll tell him to directly send you pictures. But yeah, no, he has been really excited. It was so amazing at Missouri Paracon, where one person bought the mask, and then you were saying like it's like, yeah, I'm an adult, but there were so many of these adult children that I want that and I need that, and
Yeah.
it was really cool, especially that childlike excitement that was coming out. It's the same excitement that I get when I go to the paranormal place, but for the two different loves, right, of the comics along with, and then becoming it, like you're saying, hey, I want to go around and be Wolverine. It's just taking on a life of its own.
I'll make the last mention of it, and then I'll drop it. When, not if, when I purchase it, you'll see it behind me on every show because it'll be right there on my mantle. So
As it should.
yeah. So there you go. I got to commend you here, Erin. Okay, so talk about ideas of all ideas, and we'll get into how you got the idea here in just a moment. But ideas of all ideas. Now, you and I are both investigators. We've both been at multiple locations. We've all run into a situation where we've ran into a haunted location where you just so happen to find out that there's a haunted bathroom. Okay. And you go, well, that's a novel idea, but why would someone want to haunt a bathroom? Right. And we both have similar locations where we've both been to, the Stanley Hotel, for one, where you would go, why on earth would the bathroom be haunted? Right. And you think that's a novel idea, but would there really be enough haunted bathrooms to put together a book? The answer is yes, because you end up running into, if you investigate long enough, you run into enough haunted bathrooms to put together a book. So tell me, how did it come about that you decided, you know what, I'm going to make the book?
It started off as more or less joking about it. It was a couple years ago, and I was up with Richard Estep while he was writing on Ashmore Estates. And amazing book, some call it Home. Does not have a haunted bathroom, though. But somehow the topic came up about haunted bathrooms, and I mentioned, why is it always the female's bathroom? Which, of course, became my husband's biggest joke now. Why is it always, the female's bathroom? But it became a topic of conversation of all these places where it was the women's bathroom, like the Stanley Hotel. I have since understood that there are presence in the male's bathrooms as well. But I let it go that day. Didn't think about it. Was at another event a couple months later, and turned out it was the Concord Inn in Massachusetts. It's like, oh, the women's bathroom here is haunted. I went, yeah, go figure. It's another women's bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I'm with a bunch of authors, and I've only written one book at that point, my first, The Sleeping Among Spirits. And I said, well, someone's got to write a book. And they're like, well, why don't you do it? Oh, why would I write a book, right? But once I get focused on something, I go down that bunny trail and I started finding all of these locations and diving more into it. Where, I mean, I got into like Japanese folklore actually has a lot of haunted bathroom stories, which was strangely scary and interesting all at the same time. And so, yeah, unfinished business, it came to fruition, it came to light. And then the second one, like sometimes when you think you're done with the bathroom, there's more. And literally it went down the toilet in Flushing. And so no one had taken that leap. And so I did.
There's so many fun puns there. There just are.
Yes, I had fun with my potty humor. All very in good taste, I hope.
Yes, it is. It is. You have to take it in stride, right? You do. So let me go backwards to because I do love the Japanese culture. Why is it? And you bring out a few different examples. And one of the things that got me is there's a couple of different stories in which there's a choice between red and blue. Mm-hmm. Why is that? What is it about the color red and blue? There's something about if it's red, you choose it's a bloody death generally, isn't it? And blue mm-hmm. has to do either with strangulation or it has to do something with choking or drowning. Why is it that color lines up with method of death? Why is it that the spirit that comes forward isn't necessarily a trickster or a jokester or a demon? And why is it the bathroom? What is it about the bathroom and the feeling of being claustrophobic or trapped or vulnerable? What is it in mm-hmm. that scenario, in that culture, that is such a horrible scenario?
No, those are all excellent questions that I wish I had the answer to. But yeah, I came across several of those legends with the red and the blue. One so forth went to mention, I think it was yellow, and that was just basically to do with urine. But the person would survive if they chose that. But a lot of it, I wonder too about the vulnerability, because I think about that. I mean, I write about, just those urban legends, those folklores that we think, oh, maybe those aren't, they're not true. Those scare me more than any of these other haunted bathrooms, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be approached by something red or blue when, I don't want to be approached by anything. But it's just eerie, creepy, scary.
I mean, that's unlike anything that we have here in the States. I mean, here in the States, when you talk about a ghost story or you talk about a haunted bathroom, there's nothing, as far as I know, there's no legend in a bathroom in the States where you're going to die, right?
You might get beat up a little bit, but yeah, not die.
Right. So there's nothing really to be overly terrified about. But in Japan, I mean, you're going to lose your life. That's kind of a scary proposition.
Yeah, they have multiple stories. It's not just the one, and they're all equally terrifying. There's even a children's cartoon about one of them now. I would totally butcher it, but so I'm not even going to try. But yeah, there's my child was actually reading a comic book, and I looked at it and was, oh my gosh, this is the haunted bathroom ghost. She goes, yeah, duh, and it's a big thing. Yeah, that they have even a cartoon comic book, and it's a bathroom haunting thing.
That's
fascination.
It's fascinating, but at the same time, it's. I mean, I kind of get the thrill, but at the same time, it's alarming to think that at any time you could just pop in, need to do your business, and at the same time you're taking your life in your hands. I don't know that's a thrill to me. You would think that's the place you would want to go, that you'd have the most security. you have the least security, you know. Not exactly my idea of fun. You know, my least idea of fun. I want to go to a place we both have in common. That's the Stanley Hotel. I want to go back there for a moment. Because I mean, I have a lot of warm memories of the Stanley. I've never thought of the Stanley as being overly scary, and I know that it you know it takes its what's the word I'm looking here for Erin? It's inspiration, you know, for The Shining and that idea of isolation, that idea of being driven mad, the Overlook Hotel. But when you go there, there's really a serenity there, right? I mean, if you sit out on that front porch and you look over the mountains, and if you don't look to your left and look at the Safeway, you know, you get the idea
Safeway
that
McDonald's.
Yeah, the Safeway, McDonald's, and everything else. You get the idea that you know you truly are in God's country, right? You truly are where you know you're at the top of a mountain. You're there where really in the untouched place where Safeway, McDonald's can't get you. You know, you're at that place where you know you could just be, you could just relax, you just are, you know, and you're oxygen deprived on top of it. But
Very true.
yeah, but it's just a beautiful place, and even the spirits there seem lighter. I mean, when you have an experience with a spirit there, even if you're investigating, it doesn't seem like there's anything too awkwardly evil. Even Lord Dunraven isn't that even that evil. You know, he's kind of a Disney evil, wouldn't you say?
Right. And yeah, he's more of the, I mean, he hangs out in a closet. I mean, that's his getup. No, there are no spirits there that are malicious. The only one I can think of was the caretaker, Paul, who is said to be in the concert hall. And he was a gentleman who he died of a heart attack on the grounds, true story. And he just wants to be left alone. So I can't blame him.
Yeah.
But that's all he does is he grumbles about. But yeah, no, none of the spirits have taken on, you know, that, you know, demonic role, to use the D word that gets thrown around so much. You don't hear about those evils. Like I love the Stanley. I was just up there. Oh my gosh, it's been a year now. But yeah, it is. It's very tranquil. It's peaceful. And the spirits there are just somewhere that they loved.
Yeah. Yeah. I even I remember sitting at the mouth of the galley down in the tunnel area with Adam Bly. I remember sitting there, and he claims not to, because he is Catholic, he claims not to have the gift of discernment, but he can feel spirits there, and he remembers the feeling the spirits of the employees of the galley that were there. And you know, saying that they're there, but he's not trying not to communicate directly with them. It was kind of a weird scenario, but saying that they were there and they were doing what they were doing, and even then, sitting there, I didn't feel anything scary. I felt at peace. I almost felt like I'm sitting with a friend in the dark. I didn't feel, you know, you would think sitting in those caves, in those little caverns, you would feel something dark and ominous, right? You're sitting in caves or caverns. You would think that something were going to jump out from behind them. It didn't. Nothing felt scary there. And when you walk into these bathrooms in the bottom of the Stanley, you would expect, okay, haunted bathroom. Okay, you would think you're going to hear something ominous too. But you don't, do you? I mean, you hear some weird stuff, but it's nothing.
No more than any other bathroom, though.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We did have someone who had an unusual experience with who they thought was Mr. Stanley. It was a psychic who actually met him, like an apparition of him, on one of our trips.
That's neat. Yeah, he's said to be there along with his wife Flora.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of fun. But there's been some really fun experiences, I think, at the Stanley, unlike other places. And it's kind of one of my all-time favorites. It's one of those places I'd love to go back to one or two more times before I kick this mortal coil. I think that's one of the places that it almost feels like home, like a second home. Like it's like almost a paranormal resort, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Is that more like?
I used to call it like a mecca. It's one of those that it has a pull. I mean, personally, I think there's more hype to it. Like some locations, they get really hyped up, but it is really a peaceful place. There's a pull the moment you're driving up the highway and you just see it sitting on top of the hill, even before you see Safeway and all the other towns. But it's like it's watching you, but it's like it's welcoming you too, saying, "Hey, come on in, come sit for a spell, come stay the night." And when I was a very beginning baby ghost hunter and didn't really know any better, I mean, of course, it's like walking in, going, "Oh man, there's going to be these ghosts," and of course, you realize like, okay, there's the hype, and you get to really just feel it, and you see why, yes, so many people keep coming back, whether they come for the ghosts. Depending on the time of year, if they're even going to say that they're haunted, that all depends. But there's definitely energy in there, and I'm not about the psychic, but you can just feel it, and it's very peaceful.
Yeah, you're more of a skeptical mind then. You don't buy so much into the psychic stuff.
I have been known to question things. And so I like being able to answer things with science. I've had my own personal experiences where I can't dispute them because it's my experience, but at the same time, then I have to wonder, did that actually happen? Now, it's not to say that, I mean, I've had strange occurrences happen to me where, for example, when I was 16, I was on an Indian reservation down at Chaco Canyon, and I got the strange sense I wasn't wanted there. Shook it off. I went back to camp. But I couldn't shake it off. It was just this intense, like I wasn't supposed to be there. It's like 2 months later, I saw an article that the Anasazi down on that region used to eat their enemies. And like, did I have some sort of like residual effect? Like, was I an enemy? Was I picking up something? Because the people I was with was actually my mom's archaeological group that she was with. And they're all like, the Anasazi were peaceful people. They didn't want to fight people. They didn't hate people. Well, this group did. And it's like, I knew that. How did I know that? So it's not to discount that things can happen. I just start questioning myself now that I'm older, and can there be other explanations? So, and that was the longest answer to going, I have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, understandable. And there's nothing wrong with that. And nothing wrong with that at all. Well, I tell you what, Erin, let's take our break. When we come back, I want you to take me on a little bit of a tour of around your area. You're in the Colorado area. Tell me if I want to take a little bit of a haunted rest stop, where I would want to go besides the Stanley, maybe even the Colorado, New Mexico area. Let's talk a little bit about areas in your area where I might want to go besides that. And then we'll talk about a couple of little more known areas. I want to talk about maybe a couple of areas that are in the book that are more well known, and some common areas that you and I may both have in common that we'll talk about as well.
Got it.
Couple of books that are out there that we have a link in the description of this program to that Erin has out right now. Unfinished Business: Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms. Of course, we've got a link to that. And Unfinished Business 2, More Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms. Both of them. We want you to pick up both of them, folks. They both complement each other greatly, and they're quick reads as well. And believe it or not, they make great bathroom reads. See what I did there, Erin? They make great bathroom reads.
I have a friend who has her copy in her bathroom. I'm not offended.
No, and as you probably should. But they're wonderful, and they're self-contained reads, and Erin does a wonderful job of not only taking you around the country and bringing you to these haunted locations, but she also tells you about her paranormal team and the experiences that she's had herself at some of these locations. And she also tells you about other investigators and the experiences that they've had at these locations. So you get the idea of not only what the locations do, not just the bathrooms, folks, and what the haunted bathrooms are, but you also get an idea of the locations themselves. So you get a well-rounded experience at these different locations that she features in the book. So when we come back, we'll get a little tour from Erin as far as these different locations, these different bathrooms, and what exactly is waiting for you when you decide to have your sit down. That's coming up next with Erin Taylor. Unfinished Business is what we're talking about right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Erin Taylor. We're talking Unfinished Business, both books, 1 and 2. It is tales of haunted restrooms and bathrooms, both more tales and tales. So it'd be 1 and 2, of course. And of course, if you're going to go to the bathroom, it'd be 1 and 2. See, I kind of got the joke there, Erin, what you did there with the book. I get the inside humor. Erin Taylor, our guest. So thank you so much for being on today, Erin. That's as much potty humor as I get today, 1 and 2. So I
you got to do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what our good friend Richard Estep said about the book. You can tell what. Yeah, should I tell people?
Him, they could guess.
Should I tell people what he said to me when
you can
be at Missouri Paracon? So okay, so Richard comes and he goes, Tim, I have a wonderful guest for you for your show. Erin Taylor, she's got a book about haunted shitters. So yeah, he was just right out with it.
I love the accent.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it was. he was just very blunt about it. He didn't. I was like, haunted what? Yeah, because at that point when you're at a convention, you're kind of half asleep and not really paying attention. But it was kind of like, haunted what? Haunted shitters, Tim. Pay attention. Yeah, that's pretty much Richard. But
yep, Judy.
Yeah. So it was like, I love it. Yeah. When are we doing this? That's what I said. I'm like, I love it. When are we doing this? If I would have had my recording equipment, we would have done it right there. And we would have done the show right there.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But we are here now.
But we're here now. That's right. That's right. So before the break, I was teasing, I wanted to take you on a little bit of a tour of right around your area, because it seems like, and now I have a theory for this, because I'm going to bring up a little bit of a theory for you as to why the bathroom is haunted. We're going to tease that at the end of the program here, and not necessarily the end of the program, but as we get towards the end of the program, why the bathroom may be more haunted than any other area of the hotel or the area that we're investigating. Okay. And as an investigator, I think you may know where I'm going with this, but so take me on a little bit of a tour. It's not just the Stanley that has a haunted bathroom. There's other areas there in Colorado that have some haunted bathrooms. Tell me a little bit from the book, the areas that you found in the Colorado, New Mexico area that have haunted bathrooms.
Sure. So going down into Denver, there is the Oxford Hotel. Drew a blank there for a second. And the Oxford Hotel has a couple ghosts that are said to be haunting. One of them is up in one of the bedrooms on the 3rd floor. The urban legend states that a woman was having an affair, husband came in, caught them, killed everyone. And so she's haunting the bathroom, scaring young men because she'll get in bed with them and things like that. That's the story. True story was it was a man who was having an affair. Greeley man came into the city. He had a working girl, and she was in love with him. She wanted him to leave his wife. He said, actually, no, I'm not going to leave my wife. I'm going to go now. She shot and killed him, then shot herself. She is the woman there, so she will haunt the room along with the restroom in there. There's also what I always think of as like a creepy thing down in the women's bathroom in the lobby. At the time, it was a barber shop, and there was a minor who was in there, and he was getting work done. Died of a heart attack. Died of something. It was very, very quick. Well, women who now use that restroom will say that there's a man grinning at them. And so he's haunting this place. He's probably very, very happy he's in a women's restroom. That's probably one restroom I'm going to avoid as well, because it's one thing to have that possibility, but the other to be leered at kind of makes my skin crawl. We have a location in Colorado Springs that unfortunately no longer is accessible at this time. It was and it's in the first book. It was originally a cowboys country bar where people went to go line dance, things like that. It was really popular in like 80s and 90s. It moved downtown. When it did, it was sold to be a haunted house attraction. Well, little did they know that the building came with spirits. And so there was several spirits that were said to haunt, again, the women's restroom. And myself and my team, we used to do like public events there where we'd bring members of the public in to do like a group ghost hunt and tell the stories of there were a couple of heart attacks that had happened on site. But mostly it was like fights, assaults, people who died off property. And here I was with more of that skeptical. I hadn't had anything much that had happened in there, thought it was more residual. I was in the bathroom, and it's a long stall bathroom. There is another investigator who is up front washing her hands, and I'm in the back, and I hear a woman talking. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "What'd you say?" She's like, "What? I didn't say anything." Like, okay, I clearly heard a woman talking and it was very muffled. There's no other person that I would have heard. And of course, my husband is in the men's. He could hear me ask about, what was that? But he didn't hear anything else. He didn't even hear the other investigator respond.
Oh my God.
So that was super cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to be using the building for. The haunted house moved out, but that is one that I actually just love that before it closed down, I got to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. There's you talk about haunted bathrooms, and there's a one of my favorite ones in Unfinished Business too. We'll talk about here in just a moment, and it reminded me of my co-host Beer City Bruiser, who traveled with Ring of Honor Wrestling and still travels to this day. He's a pro wrestler, so he's got a ton of road stories of haunted places throughout the U.S. and haunted hotels that he's been to, and one of his locally, because he originally is from Milwaukee, is the Pfister Hotel, and they used to, that's where the Milwaukee Brewers put up their opponents, and Milwaukee Bucks do too, to try and scare the bejesus out of their opponents. You have a story in Unfinished Business too about the Skirvin Hotel. So I'm wondering if you could tell the Skirvin Hotel story. I'll tell you a little bit about Beer City Bruiser's experience at the Pfister, which is hysterical, and about how he scared his tag team partner. So if you could tell us a little about the Skirvin, I'll tell you a little bit about Beer City Bruiser.
Yeah, so the Skirvin was built by a very rich Texan who had come in, and the lore is that, he wanted that hotel that appealed to everyone. Kept building, had lived there with his family. This would be the hotel where the local team, the Thunder, would house their opposing NBA teams. And the floors on the tip of my tongue is either the 13th or 14th. Mm-hmm. But that was always on that floor. Always on that floor, they would house them there. And the men started complaining about when they were sleeping, the bathtub would fill by itself, or when they were showering, they would see a nude woman in the mist. one man, Mecca World Peace, was very, very open about the young woman who kept coming in and touching him.
Yeah.
Allegedly, her name was Effie, and she was she was a sex worker. She was Mr. Skirvin's side lady, who had gotten said to get pregnant and killed herself. Apparently, on the same floor, people will hear a baby crying. There's no proof of Effie, but she is who is said to scare the NBA, where the NBA players are sleep deprived. They're playing terribly. They'll refuse to stay there. And the Thunder are going, well, thanks, spirits. Y'all are making it real easy for us to win this game.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an advantage, isn't it? I mean, to have them stay in that building. And I encourage people to pick up the book to read the entire history about the Skirvin. It's changed owners after Mr. Skirvin died multiple times. It's had issues. It's been built up. There's been workers that have lost their lives, multiple workers that have lost their lives over the years.
Many suicides.
Yeah,
which we know that can add.
Yeah, and even Oklahoma's first governor died from a bout of pneumonia in the hotel. So there's a lot of stories to this, a lot of rich stories and ghost stories to the Skirvin. The Pfister has many different stories in Milwaukee and ghost stories, and it's incredibly haunted. And so Beer City Bruisers had his tag team partner in and had him stay at the Pfister. And the Pfister was one of those spots where they all stayed. It was the hotel where, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks and Brewers have their opponents stay when they're in town. And Ring of Honor would have their workers stay whenever they would do TV tapings in Milwaukee. They stay at the Pfister. Almost everyone stays at the Pfister. And so, and whenever they could, Bruiser would try and, it's called ribbing in the wrestling business. He would take and try and pull a rib on his tag team partner because he's extremely skeptical, but at the same time does not like being scared, does not like ghosts, does not like anything of that sort, and knows that Bruiser's a part-time paranormal investigator and loves to see him scared. So one night they're at the Pfister and he knowingly gets one of the most haunted rooms on that floor and just kind of says, "Good night, buddy," knowing that the bathroom, the water turns on and off by itself.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So his partner says, "Hey, are you playing with the water in the bathroom?" He goes, "No, I'm bunked down. I'm not playing with the water." And he goes, "Would you knock that shit off? Quit playing tricks on me, whatever. He's like, "I'm not touching the water. I'm in bed." And the water's turning on, is turning off, is turning on, is turning off. And he's like, I've had it. We're switching rooms because it kept going on and off all night long. Water keeps turning on and off all night long. And then he would hear bangs. He'd hear bangs in the bathroom. When he would say, "Knock it off," you'd hear bang on the pipes.
Oh, they didn't like being told to stop.
No. So yeah, little things at the Pfister that happen and again, it's that sleepless night thing, and it's happened to. There's certain rooms where they put major league pitchers in the Pfister that are starting the next day. They know there's certain rooms that they put the starting pitcher for the opposing team the next day. They're facing the Brewers because they know that.
Oh, it's just dirty.
My goodness. It's dirty pool, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? That's what you do. So that's just how it plays out. That's how you do what you do, right? In order to get by. So that's what they've done over there at the Pfister. It's quite.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing. So I find it funny. I find it really funny that's what they've done over there. And I find that psychology is happening at 2025 between sports teams and I find it funny. I still find it funny to this day. But, I guess anything you do to get a leg up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not illegal, right?
Right.
It's just more of playing to vulnerabilities.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The other thing I find fascinating too, and we talked a little bit off air about it, is the idea that pubs and bars have haunted bathrooms. Of all the places you would want to spend the rest of your afterlife, a haunted pub or a bar and in the bathroom of it. I mean, why not be at the bar, but in the bathroom, right? And Pat O'Brien's is one of those that's in unfinished business too. I'm wondering if you can give
Hmm.
a little lay of the land of Pat O'Brien's. And I mean, New Orleans is a beautiful city as it is. If you're going to haunt New Orleans, if you're going to haunt Pat O'Brien's, it's even better. But the bathroom, what's going on there?
Yeah, as far as Pat O'Brien's, I mean, was established during Prohibition. Once the alcohol was legalized again, they moved into the building that they're in today. Um, I thought it was really cool that they were the ones who were responsible for inventing the hurricane drink.
Mm-hmm.
But the building itself had also been um, had a long history of being like part of it was like a restaurant, not a restaurant, a residence. It was also a theater at one point. We know how theaters are said to be haunted as well. But yeah, just with the busyness, was it something? Yeah, why the bathroom? I knew someone who said the bathroom was just atrocious, and it was not no not somewhere that like you'd want to haunt in there. But um, I don't know if it's just like a collection of the energies or whatnot. Um, and then again, New Orleans is New Orleans.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Very true. Um, Poasttown Elementary School is another interesting location that you cite in the book. Tell us a little bit about Poasttown, and that's an interesting location in itself, and in the way it's set up. But the the location in itself is a little eerie, and in the history of it's a little eerie. Tell us a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
Poasttown.
Yeah, so Poasttown is up in Ohio. Um, it was a basically elementary school, and the current caretakers, I'll say that, um, they were actually students there. But going back to even before the school was built, there was a horrific train crash that had occurred. And so they had makeshift hospitals, basically placements of these um, bodies and the injured on the land where Poasttown Elementary would eventually be built. So then that led to the theories of, is there anything that soaked into the ground? There were no deaths in the school. There was a story of a little girl who had fallen down the stairs and broken her neck. However, that was found to be untrue. So the idea was that, there were spirits there. They were, ones that either loved the school or they were, maybe a trauma spirit from the train accident. But when I spoke to the current caretaker, um, and he was saying like, yeah, he's like, I'll hear noises, and then I turn, and then there's no one in there. My friend Lisa, her talking in the bathroom, thought it was her mother who was with her, and her mom was like across the building. And so,
Really?
again, that it's odd to wonder why would they be haunting a school, much like a bar, if they didn't die there. But yeah, definitely the train accident was very, very oh, what's the word? I mean, it was a horrific incident that happened in their history.
Yeah.
And it could have been avoided. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That I could. That I could. Now, there is in the first book there is I'm curious about the melting pot in Littleton, Colorado. I'm a big fan of fondue. So I've got to ask a little bit about the melting pot. Tell us a little bit about the melting pot and its history, because I'm a little curious about it. And what is it that makes the melting pot so special?
So yeah, the melting pot is in a old building in Littleton, Colorado, just south of Denver. And originally, the building was used as like a police station, jail. After the jail or the police station got moved down the street, Carnegie Library was housed out of it. Actually, I might have my information backwards there. It was a library for the longest time. That eventually closed. It turned into a disco for a while before, in the last 20 years, being a melting pot. Oh my goodness, actually longer than 20 years, 30 years. I forget that 2000 was 20 years ago. But longer than that, it has been the melting pot fondue restaurant. And they have hauntings. Again, trying to figure out like who or what could be haunting there. There's some theories that goes back to like when it was used as a jail, police station. Was it due to there was a flood that happened in Littleton where some people lost their lives in that? Is it just energies because this was the center of Main Street? But their hauntings pretty much circulate in the downstairs bathroom. And so they would not talk to me. They would not permit me to investigate in there. And I have it in the book. Apparently they have a spirit that is so, I don't even know if I would call it malicious. I was pretty much told not to poke the bear, which I thought was very, very interesting, because if you would think if it was being difficult, it has something to say. But
Yeah.
that's what I was told about their haunted bathroom. I got to talk to someone else who had experiences seeing when he and his team were able to get in there a while back, where there were movements and things like that. But that one is one of those that I think is going to be that big fish that got away.
Yeah.
Even if like I were to go there for dinner or something like that, it's not like I could go and investigate a bathroom with other people coming in and out.
True. That's one of those ones that even if you snuck a recorder in and tried to get a few questions in, it'd be tough with people coming in and out. So yeah, it's one of those ones you kind of have to let go, right?
So I was with the Savannah Theater in number 2,
Yeah.
where that one was one of the first ones that popped back up as, hey, this is the place. And it was an active restroom. I keep saying restaurant, or residence. There's those R words I'm tripping up over. But yeah, it's a place where running a recorder in being used bathroom is, very, very frowned upon.
Yeah.
So many ways.
Yeah. And I think we'll wrap up our locations today with a place we've both been to, and that's Fort Mifflin, which you've had some mighty unusual experiences at Fort Mifflin. Kind of an ironic experience. I think you found out after you got home. It was kind of an ironic experience, but tell me a little bit about your experiences at Fort Mifflin.
So for Fort Mifflin, we were participating in Richard Essep's Great American Ghost Trip, where we did 10 locations over the course of 10 nights. We drove from Colorado by way of like Indiana, went over to Pennsylvania, circled back through Ohio, went to Kansas. But yeah, so Fort Mifflin was somewhere in I think that was our 8th night. Yes, 8th night. And beautiful, beautiful location right there on the river. I mean, it's the fort that saved America. Mm-hmm. And very, very sleep deprived, where I'm basically that one who's going in going, okay, ghost, get me. Like, please, just get me so I can go to bed, right? Mm-hmm. Like I went down into the hole where Grant from Ghost Hunters had his big scare of a lifetime. and no pun intended, it was completely dead. I rewatched it later and going, oh man. I also wondered too if I was tired and I missed something. But yeah, my experience that really stuck out to me was we ended up sleeping on property. And this was the trip that inspired me to write my first book, Sleeping Among Spirits, sleeping in haunted locations. But there was myself, my husband, and another investigator, and some of the other people in our group were still going. We had to drive the next day. The others were doing their own thing. And so we were trying to get some shut eye. There was a bang, and then just boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking an investigator came in to get something. And so didn't think anything of it. Next morning, learned that they never came back into that room. There was never anyone who walked in there. And so the other investigator who was in there with us, he thought that was me walking around. He didn't know that I was already in bed. So Mike was already hardcore out.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that was after the fact of, I mean, they were loud footsteps where, again, my logical brain, remember I told you, like I always think of like, well, it's going to be something else, was that it was, it was something that I could justify, and it was not. So that was cool.
Yeah. I experienced a lot of the same stuff at Fort Mifflin. A lot of noises that you think are just people moving around that you think are maybe other workers. You think, oh yeah, there's got to be other people here, and that's got to be what that is. No, no. The other thing is I think somebody caught an EVP of, they were trying to do roll call, and they caught responses, phantom responses in the background of ghosts answering it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in Casemate 5, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
that one I forgot about.
Yeah. So there's so that's a common thing that a lot of investigators will do, is they'll come in and do roll call, and they'll hear responses back. So we did that experiment when we were there. That area, did you go in that area with the cannonballs? Did you see that area?
I am trying to honestly remember. Jog my memory. Where were the kids? I'm trying to visualize it in my head. Like where?
I'm trying to remember myself. It's been so long. Gosh, it's just been years and years and years. I think it's been a decade.
Greg O'Brien is somewhere yelling at this, going, "It's there."
Yeah, it's there. It's there. But I'm trying to remember. There was something that happened in that area too. I don't remember what it was. I remember you saying something about the face in the window, and I didn't see it, but somebody else did from our group. You know, you talk about the little face in the window. But somebody saw that. I remember that from that. I did get to put my head in the stockade, or that little
That's fun. There better be pictures. I did.
I do. I have a picture of one of my friends hitting me with my own cane while my head's in the stockade. That's one of my souvenirs I'll have forever from Fort Mifflin. So that's one of those fun pictures. But it actually looks like she's hitting me with a Singapore cane instead of my cane. It actually looks kind of medieval, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, occasionally I put it up as my cover picture on one of my social media. So
that's fantastic. I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So yeah, Fort Mifflin is definitely one of those. If not for the haunted aspect of it, is definitely one of those historic places that you should always want to check out. That's one of those bucket lists that you always want to check out. So, okay, so the theory here, Erin, behind why bathrooms are more haunted than other areas of the location. Care to guess why before I spill the beans here?
Well, I mean, I have my theories.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm more curious about what your theory is.
Oh, no. I want your theory first.
Well, there can be definitely, many reasons. And, one of them is the moving water. right? You get the running current waters from the faucets and the pipes. Other ones can be depending on just the location itself. What was the room prior to being a bathroom or a restroom? Limestone, the type of stone that's in the walls around it.
Yep.
There's also there's the theory of mirrors being portals. And so I know right now we'll just say the Conjuring House has been in like a different light right now, but that restroom is in my book, where they have what they call they call it the portal potty, where they have the two mirrors, and people will have a vertigo effect. Now, is that from the mirrors? Is it from the portal? I'm not sure. But we know from other theories of other hauntings where mirrors come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could it just be that the ghosts are malicious and they just want to pick on people in the bathroom like the Japanese folklore? Not sure. But
you've hit on 3 of the 4.
All right, what am I missing?
So rushing water, materials that the bathrooms are built out of. The only one really you're missing is the material that the pipes are made out of is conducive to electromagnetic fields and electromagnetic energy.
Oh, you're so right on that one.
So that's the only other thing. And what really got me about it is okay. So I'll tell you an interesting story from the Stanley. Again, I bring it back to the Stanley Hotel, and that is down in the cave area. One of the first trips we're conducting, we're down in the cave area, and bless their hearts, there are 2 young women down there, and they had a K2 meter, and they go right up to a heating duct, and they go, "I think I'm getting something," and they're scanning in the heating duct with the K2 meter.
Oh,
and
no.
Over and I gently grabbed her wrist and I said, "Take that down." I said, "You're not getting anything. That's just the heating duct. You want to set that down. You want to put it down on the cement, and then you want to ask something to come over to it. You don't want to put it up on the heating duct because you are getting something. It's the heating duct."
Told her. Oh.
Yeah, you don't want to put that up on the heating duct.
Yeah, my first K2 experience that really let me down was, again, very, very baby ghost hunter. Didn't know anything other than what was on TV. And I was on a Stanley public hunt back when they used to do those. And we were in the concert hall. I had a K2. I was all excited, right? Because I'm a real ghost hunter. And finally lights up. And our guide he looks at it and he goes, "Cell phone." Guy like 5 feet from me is on a cell phone. I'm like,
yeah.
That was the only time it went off. And of course I remember it. It's so sad. Yeah, we have the K2s are just uber sensitive.
They are.
But when they work, they work.
Yeah. They were really, really sensitive. Yeah. That's for sure. Boy, I tell you, I really hope this is going to sound bad, Erin. I really hope you have enough in you for a number 3.
It keeps sounding that way. I have to laugh. I mean, even before we went on, you gave me another idea, and it's more of a, okay, I'm just going to add it to the list.
I could probably throw 3 or 4 at you for a number 3 if you needed it. I could do that off air for you. But you've got 2 wonderful books out there already. I highly recommend them to the audience out there. Unfinished Business, Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms is the first one out there that we have a link in the description of this program to. And of course, the second one is Unfinished Business number 2. I love that. More Tales of Haunted Restrooms and Bathrooms. Erin Taylor, I've fully enjoyed my time with you today. And again, send my love to Mike and tell him I'm sending my money to him here shortly. And I'm going to have me a Wolverine helmet right here and back me right here on the shelf. So it's going to be prominently featured with the rest of my stuff.
Awesome. I'm going to let him know. And thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, the time just flew by, and there's like so much more where, can talk about. Sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll have you back. We'll talk again. We got to talk Strange Colorado. We've got that to talk about as well. we've got more to talk about as well. So this isn't your first and only time here, Erin. So
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to come back.
absolutely. So we'll do that again in the future. So, and we'll have a link to Mike's stuff as well. We want people to see Mike's stuff as well. Mike has got some amazing stuff that our audience needs to see. So look for Mike's stuff as well in the description of the program. So Erin Taylor, I want to thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We're coming up on the weekend. A couple of reminders for you. The Darkness Radio Apple app. Make sure that you either have it or update it. Check out the store, darknessradioshow.com. Make sure you do that. And let's see. Oh, yes. If you're not watching the show on video, make sure you do. Go to the YouTube channel, which is the original Darkness Radio, and like and subscribe. If you do that, we'd be ever so grateful. Also, again, this weekend, although it's been unseasonably cool in the Midwest and maybe elsewhere in the nation, we want to make sure that you get out and help a neighbor with spring cleanup, maybe someone that's disabled or is unable to get out there and help do their lawns, their spring cleanup, or even a house cleanup and spring cleaning. Go out there and be a light in someone's darkness. Go out and help a neighbor, a friend, a family member, whoever it is that needs that help. Again, go out and be a light in someone's darkness this weekend. We appreciate it if you could. For Mally Fox, for Jessica Freeberg, for Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for continuing to watch and listen to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.